Malware analysis can be extremely complex. Although an in-depth look at this area of cybersecurity is definitely beyond the exam and this video course, you should definitely have a basic understanding of how malware analysis is actually performed. And there are two basic methods to analyze malware and viruses and so on. One is static analysis, and the second one is dynamic analysis. And basically, static analysis is concerned with the decompiling, reverse engineering, and the analysis of malicious software or malware, right? And there are many different tools that you can actually use to perform this, like disassemblers, decompilers, and so on. And examples of those are things like IDA Pro, Binary Ninja, Evans Debugger, the Ghidra, a reverse engineering tool that was actually contributed by the National Security Agency in the U.S. government, Bintext, and many others. And by the way, actually, I have a GitHub repository that I'm sharing in the link that includes tons and tons of different references for different cybersecurity topics, from reverse engineering to malware analysis to offensive security and so on. So I'll definitely advise you to take advantage of those resources, because actually I'm putting more and more information on a daily basis on that resource, on that GitHub repository. Now there's also dynamic analysis, and dynamic analysis is the second method that I mentioned and relates to the monitoring and analysis of a computer activity or network traffic. And this actually requires the ability to configure the network or the device, for monitoring, and then look for unusual or suspicious activity and try not to alert the actual attacker itself. So basically, you're trying to obfuscate now your techniques for the attacker not to know, and it requires a lot of preparation of test beds and many others, right? You can actually do things like install a VM or a virtual machine and different sandbox environments for analyzing what the actual malware may do in an operating system or in the system itself, right? It may actually create a cover channel to be able to actually exfiltrate information, so you can actually start seeing the behavior, or probably creating processes or users on the machine, and many other different techniques, right? And again, the dynamic analysis is where you actually have the piece of malware actually running on a specific system, so in a VM or a sandbox. And now that I mentioned a sandbox, let me actually define what that means. A sandbox is actually simply a standalone environment that will allow you to safely view or execute malware while keeping it contained, so it doesn't actually spread and infect other systems. And now a good example of sandboxing technologies or services is the Cisco ThreatGrid. And ThreatGrid was actually an acquisition that Cisco performed, and of course they had a sandbox solution that is now integrated with the Cisco AMP, so the Advanced Malware Protection, that you're actually going to be learning a lot more details about later in this course.